Hey guys, welcome back. This lesson is about power chords off of open chords. Now, this is one of my favorite things to do, to just noodle around with, to play at loud volumes. It's freaking rockin'. Like, a long time ago, I don't know who, but some smart rocker dudes figured out that you can actually take open chords and remove the thirds of the chords and play it as a gigantic power chord. And so for instance, like an A, it's a little bit harsh on the ear, but if you were to take out some of those notes, so some benefits of this are, increased sustain, because you're playing the lowest possible place on the neck, so you're going to have a lot of sustain on the chord. The chords are going to be very bright, and they're going to just sound really awesome and complementary to the guitar. Also, because of the general simplicity of these shapes when you learn the hand forms, is that you can pivot between them a lot quicker than if they were regular power chords. And the voicings tend to just sound a little more interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically do all these with close-ups just so you can see. And down the road I'm going to give you some lessons on creative ways to apply them. So think Led Zeppelin, because here we go. Let's check it out. Okay, welcome back. So our first chord is an E minor power chord, and it's derived from an E minor this way, but that sounds a little bit heavy, especially with, in a high gain setting. The easiest way to do it, you probably have seen it, it's, the most common of all guitarist chords in a rock setting, where you just take your first finger and you kind of lean over, and what you're going to do is, instead of playing on your fingertip, you're going to play with just one finger. And you're going to hold down the second fret at the A string and the second fret on the D string. So I'm playing the 5th and the 4th strings, and then you're going to throw in the low E as well. So you should be getting that. Now the reason you wouldn't want to play it this way with your fingertips is you want to be able to nail this guitar. You want to be able to strum through it really heavy. And if you were to strum through and make contact with all the strings, you get is that that top section, the top 3 strings are actually muted by your first finger just kind of leaning comfortably on the upper strings as you sort of squeeze in and fret the lower 2 strings, the 5th and the 4th, that is. Also, grip is really important. Try not to go underhand like a bar chord. Try to just be comfortable, more or less like this, a little bit more open. You'll find the spot that feels good. I'm pressing, I'm really using the ball of my hand here, and I'm kind of, it's like a little bit less articulated than an F chord. That's the idea. Nice, one finger, your other fingers are free to do leads and embellishments, extensions on the chords, very versatile approach. So that's your E minor power chord. Now the other version of this takes a little more skill, but is when you actually curl your finger out of the way to get the high 2 strings. Those 2 are open. The only string that's not played is that 3rd string. If you squeeze too hard, you're going to get that note. It doesn't sound bad, but it's not a power chord anymore. So you want to leave the G string muted just by the way you're curling your finger up. Or sometimes it's nice to hit the low one and then the high one. So that's E minor, or E rather. That's an E power chord. You could use it in major too. Okay, so our next one's an open G. So if you know a G power chord, a G open chord, cowboy style. I don't know if this is technically cowboy style. Every rose has its thorn style. What you're going to do is you're going to actually use the same fingers, but you're going to, ooh, I got a message. You're going to remove your first finger and your pinky finger. And you're going to actually sort of approach this in kind of a, quote, lazy way, where your middle finger is going to lean over that string that your first finger used to play. You're just going to lean over and mute it. And the 2 strings in the center of the guitar are still open. You're still playing your 3rd finger note. And that 3rd finger is going to comfortably lean over and mute the high string. So you should be getting 4 strings total with this very kind of tilted, sort of more, you're more leaning on the strings than anything to mute them. So you should be getting a 6th string, open 4th and 3rd, 3rd fret on the 2nd string, no high string, no 5th string. So that's the first version of the G chord. Now the alternative as a power chord is to put your pinky where it was normally. So the only finger you're removing is your first finger. That's very common too. It's a little brighter. You can hear the top end kind of shines a little bit. That's without, that's with. So those are both versions of your G. Now form is really important, and that's what's going to really help you to start to get the shape. A lot of it's in the grip, and it's just in the way that the hand generally feels more relaxed. There's something to be said for the guys that make it look easy, because for their hands it actually is pretty easy for these. It's all in the grip, and the more that you just learn the tilt and the angle and the form and everything, you know, it's going to actually start to come together and be a pretty safe thing for you to riff on. Okay, now A5 comes off of an open A chord, A major or A minor, but we're actually removing that 2nd string note, and we're removing the high note. Those strings are muted. We're going to play it really the same as that E power chord down here. We're just going to shift it up. So you're going to bar over the 2 notes that you normally be playing with your other fingers. So 2nd fret on the D string, 2nd fret on the G string, and an open A string. And biggest tip of the day, thumb comes over to mute the low E string. So that's a dead string. That way you can strum through this really hard if you want, really aggressively, and you get a dead string. Open, 2nd, 2nd. And the 2 up top are muted as well. And the sirens are blaring. That's your open A power chord. The next one, our C sus2. This C sus2 comes, it's kind of derived from the C add 9 chord, which is very similar to the G chord. Every rose has its thorn. But we're going to leave out some stuff again, so we're actually going to leave out the first finger. And this is kind of optional as well. You can leave out the pinky if you want. It's a little bit trickier, but that does sound nice. So the middle finger has a unique challenge now, where the middle finger is going to lean over the string that you just removed, that you took your finger off of. So you can't play that 4th string note. That's got to be a muted string. But also your middle finger's got to mute the string above it. So you're in kind of a muted sandwich. You have to mute the string above it, play the 3rd fret on the A string, mute the string underneath it on the D. This is pretty tricky, but again, it's all in the angle, and it's all in, you know, just the form and the grip. So dead string, 3rd fret, dead string, open G, finally an open string, right? And then 3rd fret on the 2nd string as well with that 3rd finger. Dead high string. 3 strings. Or version 2, you can put your pinky down and actually play 3rd fret on the high string. A little shinier. Very easy to pivot between the G and the C. It's funny how you change one note and the whole center of the chord's different. It's the power of the root, baby. And the final one, the final open chord, is an open D power chord. Now this is just like a D major, same finger formation, just leave out the middle finger and tilt with the 3rd finger. So you're going to play just the open 4th string, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, dead string on top. Open D, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, dead string. Now don't play it this way. A lot of people start and they use your middle finger. Do it with the same form that your fingers are programmed with anyway, for a couple of reasons, because you might need this finger for transitioning between a G chord or something else, some other chord. You might need that note for bass notes, but more importantly, you've learned the D this way. Why not just keep the same form? It's much easier to do that than have to learn a whole new form. Also, you might need melody notes on the upper string, and if you use this finger, you can play yourself into a corner where you can't get that original D note if you need it. So I always recommend first finger, third finger, middle finger is just out of the picture. If you overstrum this too much and you get the open A string, it's not the end of the world. It actually sounds good. It's part of the chord anyway. It's just not in the root. So you can play your D that way as well. The key to this is keep your thumb over the top and mute that low E string. You definitely don't want to hear that string in there. So either 3 strings or 4 strings. If you get really flexible with your thumb, you can actually come over and mute them both. But, you know, take it one day at a time, and for now just kind of strive to mute the low string. What's also nice is that it encourages your fingers to come in and have a nice closed grip this way, to where you're more encouraged to kind of lean over the top string with your third finger. It's kind of funny how we learned all of our open chords on the fingertips and trying to stay out of the way of neighboring strings, and now all of a sudden we're trying to actually mute the strings. But hey, that's rock and roll, man. So I hope you enjoyed this little lesson on open power chords. One of my favorite things to do. I hope you feel the same. Send your requests, and I'll see you guys soon. So rock on.